so I'll just get started. The Autumn Carnival, and primarily that is me, the making of a carnival painter. My name's Weldon Ryan, and before I go on with this talk, and to actually stop me from stammering so much, I'll just read from the text that's there. I would like to thank the Fall Festival of the Arts, the land, for allowing me to come out and do this talk. Thanks to Donna Banks, she's a good friend of ours, and she made sure she got some good artists for this. So she got Richland and myself and a few others. So come out and see all the others as well. Just my luck though. The last month, Richland did such an outstanding job of speaking, and just my luck that I've got to follow her. So I've got a lot to catch up to and compete against. She says, we don't compete, but yes we do. Some of you may know me as a carnival painter. It's one of the things that I love to do, painting my culture. Some of you may know me as a retired police detective, forensic artist from the New York City Police Department. But one of the things that's historically significant too with this whole thing was I am the first and the only so far black forensic artist for the New York City Police Department. So I am a first. Thing is, in the New York City Police Department's 176-year history, it took a long time for that to happen. Shortly after I retired, the New York City Police Department finally got the first female forensic artist. So she was the first. Unfortunately, I haven't met her yet because I've been down here enjoying the fun and sun in Florida. I thought I would cheat and do voiceovers, but it's not flowing as it should. It's forcing my hand. How do you do this? What are you trying to do? It's supposed to automatically kick off. Okay, well, anyway, yeah. It's moved on. Okay, we.
No, sorry.
Sorry.
Is the sound turned up on?
There's no sound on this.
Should have known that before.
Is there supposed to be sound on this?
Yeah, I did a voiceover to do a little. When my son was young, Richard always got on me about this, but played a lot of video games. And what I did was I used to find him a lot of cheat codes. I figured, well, I can kind of do this with this talk and find a way out of it. But now I'm forced into it. Well, I came to the United States at age 6 from the land of hummingbirds, calypso music, and steel pan. I'm 54 now. And I've been very fortunate to experience some good things in the United States. I grew up in the Bronx for the most part, and the first 2 years, living in the Bronx, my tenement where we lived, it was set ablaze twice, and it was dead of winter, as my mom would tell you. And we soon after moved to Brooklyn. And after Brooklyn, my mom is right there. Big ups. Yeah. And soon after we moved to Brooklyn, we stayed there for a couple of years, and then moved back to the Bronx. Now, the one thing about the Bronx at the time in the 70s is the Bronx was on fire. That's what everyone said. Yeah, the Bronx, there was a lot of fires going on, and it was a terrible time for New York City. But it wasn't as bad as they said it was. Yeah, the landlords and so on, it was basically insurance fraud and things of that nature. But you know, we got over it. Now, that's where I actually experienced or got to understand my artistic abilities. The funny thing is, this is Lambert houses, and we grew up. This is where we grew up. So it's funny. I found all these pictures as I was trying to figure out what to say and how to express myself. But it's a great time. But also, the fact is, the Bronx, it's away from the Caribbean community, and that's one of the things that I longed for, because unlike Brooklyn, the Bronx, you know, it was basically American blacks where I lived, and Puerto Ricans, and so, you know, the whole nature of it was, you know, we're a good family anyway, and where we grew up, it was just a special place. Okay. Well, the Bronx set the seed for my art life, and one of the inspiring teachers is Miss May. She was an older teacher. She should have retired like 10 years before or something like that. But she was such a caring, daring soul that the way she taught history and all of the other things, my homeroom. And honestly, what it was about creativity and art, and I really picked up a love of art. Funny thing is that in junior high school, we had art program as well. We had an art teacher. I don't remember his name, but I do remember Miss May, so that gives you an idea of who she was in my life. Now, it's moving now fast. The art teacher, what he did though, he got me to consider going to art design. So I did that, the high school of art and design. It was music and art, and you guys know that from the show, yeah, Fame or whatever. But I went to art and design. That's more commercial school, and that's where I learned paste mechanics. We learned to be a professional illustrator or a commercial artist, and it was great. A lot of famous people you may know have came from there. Lawrence Hilton Jacobs, a few others, Tony Bennett, to name a few. Okay, well, after art design, I went to SUNY Newport. It was a fine art school. And, you know, I thought that I would learn to painting techniques, illustration techniques, and so on. And it was a wrong choice. I should have went to School of Visual Arts where they were more in depth with illustration techniques. But that's one of the things I've always longed to learn, technique. And that's the one thing that I'm still working on till this day. Now during that time, when I graduated from the FIT, I went to FIT after I graduated from there, 85, it was about getting my portfolio together, so it was tough. Because, you know, if you didn't have the skills, you didn't have the connections, you didn't have a job. And it was freelance basis. So the whole nature of it was that I had to find a way to earn a living. So with that, I took a side job as being a cop. And you know, the funny thing about the side job, it just engulfed me in so many things. But you know, it did afford me opportunities. The amount of tension, violence, and it was a dark time for me in the sense that, you know, I was always a happy-go-lucky guy. You know, when I told my Richland, she was like, "You a cop?" My best friend was like, "You a cop?" I said, "Yeah, I'll do that." But the funny thing is, even before then, the summer of '87 was when I met Richland. And so I was just pounding the pavement trying to do whatever. And one day I just walked into the store and I saw this beautiful lady. And I decided, well, you know, that's the girl for me. But what it was that I had my portfolio, a promo card. And, you know, I gave her my promo card, and you know, she was like, wow. So I think that's what did it. And I was just bringing her up. She spoke last time, and she tore it up, and you know, it's just my luck to follow her. So this is the you know, facade of Art and Design, 57th Street, 2nd Avenue. Now, I met some instrumental instructors. One is Max Ginsberg. I visited him a couple of years ago when we went to when we went to shoot the West Indian Day Parade on Eastern Parkway. So I visited him in the studio and in Long Island City, Queens, and it was really, really good to meet him, to see him again. So, you know, his movement that he's been trying to start is a social realism movement. And, you know, he's a very sensitive person, and basically the social realism movement was about painting the here and now, the sufferings of people struggling, and so on. He's 95, and he's still teaching, and he's still painting. As a matter of fact, he's doing virtual school now. See, I just got something in the email just the other day about him doing a class. He's like, you want to paint like me? Take my course. And these are some of the examples of his work. Now, you know, he's a master, and maybe one day this museum can probably host a show of his. You know, he had his retrospective a couple of years ago. I got the book. Did we buy? Okay, we bought the book. It's what? Oh, back in high school, he recruited me to and 3 other guys to pose for a book illustration, Hoops. So I'm in the book. So he did paint me. I tried to buy the piece years later. Unfortunately, it's been sold, so I missed out on that. Well, I got through all of the nitty-gritty with that. Unfortunately, you know, the voiceover didn't work, but here's some early works that we can run through. Now, cracking up, you know, back in the 80s, it was the crack epidemic of cocaine. Today, it's the opioid. There was a distinct difference of how things had been treated. But bottom line is, with all drugs, it's about euphoria and the way you feel. But there's always a destructive underlying fact, and that's what this piece was about. I did this when I was on patrol, and like I said, seeing the violence, crime, death, and all that. I had to get myself back to art, you know, and so I started drawing in the squad car, and you know, doing things of that nature just to get me back into it. And I picked up some oils and I started getting back into painting. And this was the first painting that I did of Richland. You know, she's always been my muse until one day she said, "Stop painting me, stop painting me." So I entered it whilst I was trying to do something else in the department. I entered it in the Sal Magundy Club, and it's a prestigious art institution in Manhattan. And it won the Dale Myers Award for excellence. So now the thing is, John Volpe was a police detective, and he was the director of the Sal Magundy Club. And he arranged this art show. For artists, cops painting or something, I forgot the title, but with it all, you know, what he did was he worked the safe loft squad for the NYPD, and what he was the cop, he was the art detective, so he would solve art crimes, art theft crimes and all, and so that was the significance, that's why he had such a love for art, and so he arranged this show at the Sal Magundy, and there's so many talented people on the force as a side job, just like me, you know. But I won this award. But the funny thing is, and it's unfortunate, we know historically about his son, and Abner Uwima. His son was on a job, and unfortunately, he was the cop that was responsible for abusing Abner Louima, and it destroyed him. He was hurt from there on. The historical Dumbo area right now, it's the hip and happening spot of art in New York City. You know, you had Soho, NoHo, and you had all these places that, you know, had all these lofts, and a lot of artists always go where there's big spaces. And I was fortunate enough, now that I had some sort of an income, to afford to have a studio in one of these buildings. I did some work, and I'll let you see some of it now. Of course, Carnival was something that was dear to me, and this is where I really started to experiment with painting that subject matter.
What city?
This is New York City. This is New York City.
New York City.
Yeah. So this is one of the first pieces that I did. I went out, shot pictures and so on, and I came back, and these are the results. And this piece, Ready for Mass, and that was in 2002. So using my illustration skills, a little toned down, and so on, these are the things I came up with. The Celestial series, I came up with the concept, and of course, Richland is my muse again, and she's like, ah! But yeah, I got her to pose for me, and I did a few things. So Celestial Mother Earth, and the concept of Earth, Wind, and Fire, just like Earth, Wind, and Fire, the band, but you know, that's one of my favorite bands. Mother Earth. Unfortunately, I didn't finish the third part, the wind. But you know, I got by with what I have, you know. And well, that's our 9/11 baby, Savannah. People say, how do you find the time? Because during 9/11, I was working like crazy, and we were ships in the night. But this is Richland feeding her the modern way. And head wrap in blue is another thing. I was trying to get into the black art market at the time in the 80s and 90s. A lot of artists of color was using print market to sell their works. It was a difficult thing in the sense that back in those days, it was really tough to be a collector because it cost so much money. It still does to this day, but a shortcut to it all was to buy prints. All right, the funny thing is the prints would cost like maybe $40, $50. And if you were popular, you can really do well. I've got friends that did excellent, making six figures from that. And you know, unfortunately, it, like everything else, comes to an end. But the art would cost $45, the prints. But the phrase would cost $300. So I never understood it. So. And this is when I first got to the 3-2. Yeah, I worked in Harlem. I worked in hot houses. They're called A, B, and C houses. A houses was the rough houses. You know, the 3-2, Washington Heights, the houses with the most homicides and highest crimes. So, well, when I got there, she was my partner, and unfortunately, she taught at the police academy, and she taught cops how to be a little bit more sensitive, because she was a beautiful person, very articulate and knowledgeable about so many things. But she taught at the academy for about 2 or 3 years or so, and to this day people still remember her. But this was back, she died in 2005. But I did this portrait of her, and I gave it to her mother, and every year on Facebook you'll see it posted, because I want people to remember her as the beautiful person that she is. And of course, you know, when I was in Dumbo, you know, my mom, she was down here at the time. She came up to visit. And she came up to New York to visit, and of course I took her to the studio. She had a beautiful outfit on. I had to sit down, and I took these photos, some photos of her, and spent time doing this painting. It was a larger painting. It's funny. I wasn't working on stretch canvas. I was working on canvas. But this was one of the pieces I did. She's my biggest supporter. And honestly, as a youth, she'd bring art supplies home for me. So she fed my habit. And for a while, I was like, Mom, if I'm a poor artist, a starving artist, it's your fault because you encouraged it. But I'm doing great now, so I'm pretty sure she's proud of me. At a point, I just kind of got bored with illustration, in the sense that sort of kind of left fine art behind. And what I decided to do, I needed some change because I got bored with what I was doing. Like most artists, we all have a change up. I know we can all speak on how we can change things that we do to make it better. So this is one of the paintings. There's a sister piece to this, a 1 and 2. The second part is missing. Second one is missing. But what I did was I tried to simple down my approach to painting. And I still used form to some degree, but I simplified my line drawings. And the whole nature of the texture, I worked on texture and shapes. Basically, the principles of art was coming to bear. So that's what I tried to do with these. And this is a close-up of it. I know it's a green girl, but the other one was more purple. So, she's the Incredible Hulk lady. And there's another piece, it's simplified, using a little modeling paste, and it was just simple statements I wanted to do, but I want to try some different things to try to brighten up my approach to art. And it's funny, working at One Police Plaza, Pearl Paints, I don't know if you know Pearl Paints, is like the biggest art supply store it's closed down now, but unfortunately. But yeah, I raced there and I got some acrylic paints of wild colors and so on, and I tried to put some colors together and so on. And that's the background. The background is acrylic, and I still use acrylic backgrounds for the most part. And the foreground or the front image generally oils. And a color girl too. Same approach. That's not me on the street. That's me posing for a painting that I thought I was going to do, and I never got to do it. So it's funny. It's like this is not a Summers book. This is a VHS cassette. Now, one of the poignant times that we had was, of course, 9/11, and being a cop. They say being a cop, you have the window to the world, and it is true. We see so much, and during 9/11, there was a lot to see. This is myself and my partner Juan Perez, and we were just checking out the sites. We could open the door and close the door anytime we want, in a sense. So going out to down to ground zero was something that was easy for us to do, being that we were in uniform or we had our credentials. This famous fire station. I think Richie said something about it being in the museum. Right. So yeah, and Danny Perusa and a couple of the other guys from my squad. They did the latent prints. We were grouped with the latent print unit. They examined smudges. Now, the funny thing is, that day, Richland worked right down the block from there, and she was going to work that day. Did you tell the story last time? No, yeah. So I'm putting it all out there. Yeah, but she experienced it. She was watching the things materialize as it was, and they stopped her from going into her building because she was in that area of danger, and so she was like, man, let me get the heck out of here, and she started going because some people were saying it's gonna fall, and sure enough, she fled towards the Brooklyn Bridge, and I don't know how her brother found this picture, But this is her right there, as she's watching the second building fall. Now she's saying, "Man, you're stealing points from me." Well, being down here, finding more within myself, trying to find a way to be more creative, trying to find different avenues. I'm still in tune with doing my carnival paintings, but also, you know, the whole nature of experimenting and you know, testing the waters of different things. So I started doing some experimental. You know, this piece, of course, you see the texture that I used before, but I started doing it a little bit more. And this painting is of my son, Ascension. Mr. Football Player, I said, "Listen, man, use that body, get there, and you can now be my model." So, so of course, you know, the thing is, everyone wants to ascend to greatness, you know. And I always want that for my kids, my friends, and family. And so that's what this piece is. It was some dynamic things happening with black youth, and it's called the jail to prison pipeline. And people say it doesn't exist, but it certainly does, because when you look at the numbers of kids being suspended in school and the ratio of black to white or Hispanic, and the numbers are just, it's all there. And you know, I was at my nephew's graduation, and I saw him walking down the line so proud and happy to be there. And it came to me, it's like, wow, you know, this is a good painting. So, you know, I walked the line. I walked the graduation line, and that's what this is about. Education, not prison. Now, whilst we were there, we decided, hey, you know what? We're spending all this money for gallery, for studio space at the Hollingsworth and whatnot. Let's do something for ourselves. So we decided to rent a studio space where I could paint. We can both paint, and we can also have a gallery. So we decided to open Calypso Fine Art Gallery in Bunnell. And the theme was Caribbean based. So really we had Caribbean snacks, Calypso music, and it was just really a nice, comfortable spot. And so this is our grand opening, and this was a fall show. This was like pretty much in May that we got to do that a few years back. But of course, the rents, and if you don't sell art, you pretty much got to fold. So we decided to turn it into a .com. So it's calypsofineart.com. And we're up, but you know, all we do is we pay just for the website, and things happen, it happens. So we don't have to worry too much because it's not so much over the top. Now this is my carnival crew, the family. Reaver, Savannah, Xavier, Richland, and myself. We decided as well with this whole carnival thing, we decided to do carnival events and to document people playing mass with paintings and photography. And so, you know, I rounded up the family, slapped some cameras in their hands, and we got our press credentials from each event. We went out and we took pictures of people playing mass. Playing mass, for people who may not know, playing mass is just, you know, being in costume and participating in the carnival. We also do a talking event, whereas we go to each carnival event and we do talks about carnival characters, the traditional carnival characters, and the historical aspects of what it means. And it's not just, you know, people in costumes and so on. There are characters in the whole realm of carnival celebration that relates to historical events, whether it's 1942 and the war, sailors. There's all these characters, and it's very interesting. I didn't want to get into it today because I thought that, well, maybe it's about, people getting to know how I became the person I am with my art. So here's some photos that we managed to take, and just gonna go through it a little bit. You can see the richness of things, of subject matter. And of course, I'm greedy, so it's like, let's go, let's hit this carnival, let's get this one. We'll take as many pictures as we can. And the funny thing is, I can only paint one at a time. So, yeah. Miami, Eastern Parkway, New York. There's all these carnivals happening worldwide. It's a worldwide phenomenon. Everyone's doing it now. Even Japan has a carnival. And really everyone gets into costumes. So in Florida, we have Orlando, we have Jacksonville, we have Miami, of course, Tampa, St. Pete, and I might be forgetting one or two, but as far as California, New York, Chicago, it's really a phenomenon. And it's a moneymaker, and it's a woman-run situation, a woman-run way of the costumes. And so really, that's who it's for. Okay, you caught us. So Richland and I in Miami, and Xavier and Richland in New York, so, And these are a couple of shots I have yet to get to. Like I said, painting one at a time. And now I'm working large, so it's really even longer for me to finish a piece. Now the Spice Man and fancy Indian. So we have all these terminologies to get into if you really want to get into. Where's the Spice? There he is right there. Miami and New York. Miami. Yeah. And this is Dave Moraine. It's a carnival character, and generally it's men painted whiteface and dressed in with big bosoms, frilly dresses, and big behinds, and so on, and so to mimic the slave owners in the plantation in the Caribbean. This is our first annual Art of Carnival exhibit at Clover Fine Arts. These two young ladies, they missed the opening, but they went in there and was enjoying it. They do Afro punk. That's another festival that's really cool, futuristic dress and everything else. And so they said, hey, yeah, we'll pose for some promo stuff. She's a fashion designer, by the way. She runs a .com, Aunt Funky's Closet. And this is opening night, and that's my second partner, Wayne Gordon. He's from Trinidad as well. That's his wife. And the second one we did was at Medgar Evers College. Actually, I give a lot of credit to Richland because, I was begging her, and she's like, listen, I got this. And, she's been the manager of our travel show and the educational programs that we do outside of the state. Well, basically, she handles everything with regards to Art of Carnival. We're trademarked, the Art of Carnival. It got a lot of press, and we were welcomed with open arms. And the talk there was really phenomenal. I had a good talk with the students, the professors, and everything. It was really, it was a 2-day event. And News 12. And every year we pick a cover art to promote for that Autumn Carnival 1, 2, 3, 4, so forth. And here's some promotion. What I do right now, I do a speed painting, and I post it on YouTube. And it's a way of grabbing people and populating who I am to people. Also, it's an inside look as to how I work with my paints. Everyone is interested in how an artist works. Always want to go to their studios to see what's going on. So with the speed painting, it gives a good idea of what it's all about. No, it's taking a bit. So video's not working on this. No, it's not it. Oh well, I have a YouTube channel, so I guess you can check it out there. I didn't know this. If I had known, I'd have prepared differently. Sorry. Anyway, this is a painting from the video that I shot, and I basically concentrated on my speed painting of this area. It's called Slayer, and it's a Jacksonville Carnival masquerader. She's playing mask, and you know, she's an older woman or a more mature woman, but you know, it's just magnificent body. Not a high res, but you know, you get the idea. And again, we're gonna have a problem. but this video actually showed how I work. I use a projector, an opaque projector, camera obscura, as the Renaissance artists used. The whole notion is that, you know, it'll take me forever to actually draw the art on canvas, especially working large. The muralists, what they use a different type of situation, whereas when they project their imagery on a large surface, they have a way of, whether it's the grid method or whatever, they all have a method of drawing the picture. But the funny thing is that it's all fine and good, and you might say it's tracing or what have you, but have you ever tried painting realistic on a tracing? You can't do it, you can't. So there's some serious skills involved. And even when I do my tracings, there's certain road maps or markers that you have to put down to understand some curvatures and certain elements that you have to put in place so that as you're seeing the picture and from your interpretation beforehand, you know, how it would interrelate, and it'll help you with your brush strokes, directionals of these elements, as well as colors and other things like that. They're markers, and it's really good, but I don't think it's gonna go. Now, I use a computer monitor because technology is fantastic now. So with a computer monitor, I can enlarge certain areas and see detail and you know, see the full thing. It's a lot of working things out. And the unfortunate thing with the modern day things, before I used to use prints. So I used to have blow-ups and so on. I don't do that anymore. And the good thing about it is you had your established colors. When you work with a monitor, the problem with the monitor is that it's RGB color scheme and it's light. So it plays tricks on you depending on how you place the monitor. So you have to do constant juggling as to how to get the accurate colors and so forth. It's also about consistency. So anyway, ammo galore. And what I was going to show you, and probably the next frame, was this area actually I was working, and you know, the speed painting would have demonstrated it really nice. When I do this, I also do my own music when I do this. Yeah, there. Cool. And you can see these images, I mean, up close once we're done. But this guy was Orlando Carnival. His name is Malcolm, and he's a vendor. And of course, what he does is he sells flags. Everyone's out there celebrating flags and where they're from. So they buy a flag for Trinidad, from Virgin Islands, the Bahamas, whatever. And he's the one that they go to. So the title of that is Caribbean UN. So it's just fitting, understanding, how it is in New York, the UN there. And so I put it all together, Caribbean UN. And this is a Miami mass player. And I call it culture rap because, as the Caribbean, we all have our island identity, but we're all one people, regardless. But we're still very proud of the little changes, little differences within what we do. And, I like the way that this wrapped around him, he was shrouded in being Jamaican. And so I called it culture rap. And Dominican kerchief. I was trying something new with this. I was working on a different form of realism, trying to get a little playing with the lights. And, it was a successful piece. It's in a gallery in New York right now, hoping that it gets a sale soon. This piece was Fences. And I was trying to find the finished rendition, so this is not quite the finished piece, but it's damn near close. So I decided I could still use it. But what it is, it's fences, and it's about the barriers that Black women have to go through in our society, how things are. So aside from the fences, the things that hinder, it's also about future aspirations and future visions. So her eyes tell that she's looking past all of that to get to where she needs to get to. And this is a Jacksonville Carnival puckering up, and I just, it's just a fun piece. I enjoy doing that. But, the thing is, when you paint feathers, feathers are light. So how do you portray that? How do you capture that? And then when you have light shimmering off of feathers and so on, you actually have to do a believable job. This is, decent enough, but, it was just an enjoyable piece that I like doing. And Pucker Up. She's a fashion plate with a really nice millinery hat. Yeah, you get a kick out of it. We spoke on that the other day, someone with the hat. And so this was one of the pieces I enjoyed doing. This is New York Carnival. And, of course, I was very loose with the background, but my main objective was the foreground figure. And tongue and flag. And this is a Miami Carnival girl. And I just loved, her notions. And I never knew painting green feathers was so difficult. But again, the background is acrylics, and what I do with the acrylics, I play around with this. I water it down, and I use acrylics to get certain special effects. And all you see, and it's funny, Caribbean people, we always use that. Every Caribbean island, all you see, and that's one of the phrases that we use a lot. So, and she was a great figure. As I was shooting a picture, she was coming at me, and she was like, she's very happy and very happy-go-lucky. And this is what I like about Carnival, and I try to paint the expressions and the mood at the moment. I try to paint it joyous because it's setting free all of your inhibitions to enjoy yourself. And she was definitely that bubbly person. And Man from Nevis is in a Canadian's hands somewhere, collector in Canada. And Island Man. Everyone has, whether black, white, Hispanic, whatever, they always have an uncle that has a certain demeanor, that he's strict or he's on your butt, and and he's it. He's like, I mean business, boy, that kind of a thing. And the trumpeter, one of my good friends, who just retired, he's got this piece, And this is another video that's probably not going to work. Okay, just as expected. Okay, well, anyway, my talk is near done. But this is, Black Lives Matter, Miami Carnival, and he was painted last. The picture of him was taken last year. He's a DJ. He's an American DJ based in Chicago. And, as he's walking down with the flag, I've got a few of a series I want to do with him. But, he's got the flag displayed just like that. And I said, listen, stop what you're doing. And he cooperated really well. I took all these pictures and stuff, and this was the first of a series I'm going to do of Black Lives Matter, Miami Carnival. All right, well, we've come to the end of my talk, but I'm going to be with 5 other artists in Daytona Beach, men painting women. And we all have a different skew as to how we paint, and our subject matter is women. And that's going to be, the reception is geared for Saturday, the 20th of August, but the show starts July 5th, the day before my birthday. And so come out to the Daytona Art League, and if you want to find out any information or so, my card and information is up on the side there. So reach out to me and follow me. So I guess that's the culmination of my talk. I want to thank you all for having me here and express myself to you. I appreciate your attention to me, and I hope you enjoyed my talk.